Okay, we're going to rinse AI and the whole scam very quickly. Stay with me quickly. So what is AI? AI is like a model. Now this is how they calculated GDP. I used to work basically using the Bank of England economics model, prediction model, and what they did in the beginning was it would take the basic principles of GDP, which is consumption plus government spending plus investment plus export minus imports, right? That would be the basic. But then they said, you know what? We can't use that for prediction. We need more stuff. So they would add in house prices, right? Change in house prices would maybe affect GDP. What about inflation? That's important. Interest rates. The weather. They would add loads of things. And guess what? In the end, they would come to, oh, and the most important, at the end of this huge model, each with their own little variable, right? Each with their own weighting. There was something called little e, which was called white noise, which just means if you put all this together, there was one little thing that we couldn't predict, tiny little thing called white noise. We don't know what it is. And after 3 years of doing economics, I can finally tell you that it's absolute garbage. They came out with absolute rubbish. In the end, they couldn't predict the next day, they couldn't predict the next month, they couldn't predict the next year. Even with all these variables, with all the weightings, with all the things plugged in, they have no idea what they're doing. It always depended on this, the little e, right, which is basically God running the world, right? They have no freaking clue what they're doing. That, my friends, is an LLM. Right, an LLM, a large language model, which is AI, is the same thing. It uses past circumstances to try and predict what you want to say or what you want to do in the future, but that's not true. You don't. That may not be. Maybe because you've written a million replies. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention for this matter. Thank you for your attention for this matter. In this one email, I don't want to say that. And so when it predicts, yeah, he's going to say thank you for your attention for this matter. That is not true. Past evidence is no basis for future. It does not know, it does not think. It is simply using predictive techniques. It's a large autocomplete. It is the same as the Bank of England model. It'll give you the best thing based on the past, what we think it's going to be. That's useless. That's not predictive. That's not learning, right? It's not learning anything. It doesn't know what you're doing. It doesn't, learn from past experiences. It just takes the percentage of what you did before. There's no learning going on there. So, totally useless LLM. Now, I will explain to you why everyone who's investing in it is going to lose out and the ones who aren't are going to win. This is the car market. In the car market, you have Toyota, VW, Tesla. Tesla was a new one. It's actually valued more than all car makers put together, but yet sells just 300,000 vehicles a year. Nothing, not a drop in the ocean, right? Volkswagen was the world leader between 2016 and 2019. It was the world's biggest car maker. But since it's been pipped by Toyota, Toyota makes 11.2 million and VW just makes now 9 million. That's a big gap between the two. And the reason why Toyota sells more is it does not do EVs. Hates them, doesn't do them. The only one they make is made in China by it's outsourced. It's not made by Toyota itself, made by someone else in China, and they slapped the Toyota badge on. It has nothing to do with EVs. The one who went full in was VW. They went full into EVs, and no one wants it, and so that's why they're now number 2 and hugely slipping very quickly. And then we've got Tesla, worth more than everyone else, but yet they don't sell any cars. And so the only one actually making real money, profitable, really profitable, they're loss making, is Toyota, which made, I think, $80 billion last year. Yeah, that's what happens when you don't fall for scams, right? EV. Let's look at our big tech. We've got Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, each one worth their certain valuations, 4 trillion, 3 trillion, I've rounded up, 4 trillion, and Apple the lowest at 2 trillion. The only problem is, all these have invested in billions, hundreds of billions, in AI. The only one that hasn't is Apple. right? It's refused to invest anything. So we are basically now where the car manufacturers were in 2020, where everyone was slamming Toyota. In fact, they fired the head of the Toyota family, Ikeo Toyota. They fired him as their own CEO. Imagine, he basically, his name is the bloody car company. They fired him. You're not doing EV, you're fired. They brought in a new CEO, and he doubled down and said, we're not doing EVs. So they were in shock. We just fired the bloody family name, and you were doubling down, and yeah, he doubled down. And thank God now they're making money. Right? But that just shows how stupid the investors are, how stupid the herd is. The herd is stupid. They're sheep. Never follow sheep. Right? You think you're innovative. Hey, EV, innovative. No, you're just a sheep. You're just following whatever they've served you. Followed you into the slaughterhouse. So these idiots, they're all investing hundreds of billions. I think they're 300 billion. They're like 200 billion. Microsoft also 300 billion. Like mad amounts of money. And they've invested nothing, zero. They want to pay 1 billion a year to Google to use Gemini, but that's it. That's basically it. They're not making their own. They're asking, can we use Gemini? We'll give you 1 billion. That's it, 1 billion a year. That's it. That's all they're giving. That's it. And guess who do you think will win? Well, I put all my money on Apple winning this AI race because they're not wasting their money. Now, I will tell you why this is a zero-sum game, and it is because of this. This shows the cost of tokens per million tokens, the cost, right? And you've got two ones. You've got Qwen, which is the Chinese, and you've got ChatGPT. And Qwen for 1 million tokens charges 38 cents. And ChatGPT charges $5.50. Now, who do you think the number one AI models are in the world? You're thinking Anthropic, Chat, Gemini. They're all Chinese, all the top 5. Kimi K, Manus, DeepSeek. They're all the number one used. You can go and check it up on your Google search if you want. But yes, they're all Chinese models. In fact, 80% of all AI startups use Chinese models. In fact, Airbnb admitted they're using the Chinese models. Stanford University uses Qwen as well. Qwen 3.6, on par with ChatGPT, easy. And they use nothing. They're all open source as well. They're not closed. You can do whatever you want. You can tailor it the way you want. It's open. And you're paying 38 cents. And these guys think they're going to make money. No one will go there. No one. Just like cars. And how can I prove to you cars? What was the number one car in the UK last year? It was the Ford Puma, right? What is it now, April 2026? It is the JQ7. The Chinese JQ7 is now the number one model in the UK. Let's take the Israeli car market. 2020, what was the percentage of Chinese cars in Israel? Maybe less than 5%. What is it today? 47.3% Chinese cars in Israel. Sales last month. That is half the entire market are Chinese sales from someone that had less than 5% 6 years ago. And now they're half the car market. What do you think is going to happen here for AI? No one's going to pay $5.50 for a closed box system that Americans do, because we see they buy Apple phones, right? American Brits, two thick countries, they buy Apple phones. They're the only countries in the world that Apple is the number one phone maker. All the others are Android. Every other country in the world, Android is the number one, right? The only two are the UK and the US, which pay $2,000 for a closed box phone that you have to pay for every update and for every app and for every little thing and for the earphones and everything. So the only two dumb countries in the world are those. But every other country, so for AI, every other country will go here. America probably will still stick with closed wall rip-offs. But again, we're not seeing that in reality. In reality, as I just told you, even American companies such as Airbnb and Stanford University and other major companies are using the Chinese models. And as I said, 80% of all startups are using Chinese models. And they are the #1 models in the world. So actually that's not true. So that's why AI is dead. AI is a fallacy. It's not going to make the billions and trillions there. They're saying it will be commoditized. China has already commoditized it, just like they've done with the cars. And I'll just give you a little thing. I forgot who it was who said it. The way the West works is they find an innovation, they build it, they spend money, they build it up, and then they try and extract the maximum rents. They build a wall, they make high barriers to entry and try and extract maximum rents from that, right? So that's Google, Amazon, Facebook. They're basically with a product, they're sucking all the money out of that. And they make billions doing it. Walmart, all of them, they all become monopolies and they suck billions, okay? The way China works is different. They go in innovation, they make it very, very cheap, and they make sure it's the cheapest thing in the marketplace, and then they take over the whole market. And the West cannot compete with that, because your high barriers to entry will never win against cheap, good competition. It's not just good enough. People like saying, oh, Chinese AI is good enough. No, 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 no. It is on par. It is on par with what the West is giving. May not be the top, but 95% on par with what the West is giving. And so therefore, there's no way, just like their cars. Their cars may not, they're probably not the best, but they're not just good enough, they're 95% there. And that's how you get 47% of the market. And that's how you get the #1 car in the UK. From zero, JQ7, I don't think anyone even knew what it was in 2025. And it is now the #1 selling car in the UK. That's why the AI is a big scam. It will never make that amount of money. China will take it over, just like they're doing now. So it's over. The only winner, Apple. Put your money in Apple. They're the clever ones. They're going to smash it because they're not wasting a penny on this stupidity.